Hi there, you're listening to Unnatural Selection, the show about newsy type stuff and things. My name is George.
And my name is Adam.
And with our powers combined, we are precisely 2/3 of Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. It's a podcast about the news that when times get tough, we start talking about the things that really excite people, like the National Construction Code.
Oh, it's exciting.
Today
is just a roller coaster of laughs and emotions. We've got some ICAC stuff. We've got the National Construction Code. We've got the latest developments in AI. And then a silly thing that the President of the United States said. So if you want to have your socks blown off, strap in, because we are going to dryly talk
blow you
about
away.
Housing policy.
So much housing policy today. We're not going to do like a tight 30 minutes on Anthony Albanese talking about the Japanese Prime Minister's melons. Is that not the discourse which has been predominant this week in Australian politics news? Is a bad joke that Albo made on a podcast in June that's not of the utmost importance to us?
As it turns out, that's front page headlines and has been. And the important question is,
days. For
was the hand
days.
gesture like a relative to the melon size? Like what is?
Because he sort of did this melons, and now it's an international incident. Insane the tenor of our dumb fucking politics. It's been a whole week of headlines about, now what did Anthony Albanese mean when he said melons? Like,
what is the imputation of a melon?
Yeah, because of the implication of the melons. But like, how possibly could, like, we must have solved all the problems in Australia.
Oh, we're done.
We're done.
I think we had a little holiday. Like some of us went traveling. Some of us have just been very sick. George has been very unwell.
I've been extremely unwell.
And I think, given that we went off the airwaves, the news cycle just fell to shit, basically.
Is that what it was?
It's obviously correlation, equals causation in this case. That's the reason why we now get to hear it and listen to me talk about Andrew Bragg's new little policy that he's announced for the coalition. Context. Andrew Bragg is what this article talks about. Andrew Bragg is the Shadow Minister for Housing here in Australia. He's he's a member of the coalition. He's a senator in the federal Senate. And he has been, over the last, since 2019, since he got in, basically, has been attacking Labor's various housing policies, and has been sort of one of the chief attack dogs for that. Now, he also sits on a committee which has been examining, it's like a Senate committee, examining housing affordability and construction rates and stuff in Australia. So he's got a fairly, being the shadow minister, he's got a fairly, keen eye on what's going on here. And we, on this podcast, have been, what's the word I'm looking for? Maybe viciously calling out the fact that the coalition have had no policies for years now. What seems like years, and they have, as it turns out, now released a policy, which is, it's not really
release
a policy.
The housing files.
Release the housing files. They have this week released a proposed revision of the National Construction Code, bringing it down from its nearly 2,000 pages down to just a tight 80 pages.
Basically, Pamphlet.
Construction code. It's basically just a quick read.
It's an infographic.
Little penguin classic.
Yep.
Get through it.
Get in, get out. Figure out how to build a house.
Read it on the train. Yep. Yeah. And once you've read it, everything's sorted.
You're all good.
Build the house.
And the problem with these bloody Labours, let me tell you about the bloody Labor, was to coming in with the bloody regulations. You can't bloody do nothing anymore with these bloody regulations. Always fucking are coming around. Oh, this is too close to this. This is too far away from that. This is too high. This is too fucking small. Fucking the Labor, the fucking regulations. It's all a fucking bullshit.
Which is an interesting way to paraphrase his maiden speech at the National Press Club the other day, where he pitched this revision that they've proposed. Now, the context, why are we here? Why are we talking? Why do we need
pages, Adam? Okay, it's 2,000 pages.
It's a lot of pages.
Too many pages.
Can't read that many
and so
pages.
what we need is less pages.
Yeah.
Okay,
And that will mean that housing is cheaper.
Fix housing.
Solved it.
Too much pages.
The reason why we're here is that a couple of things. Labor has, through their Housing Future Fund and the Housing Accord that they struck with various state governments and super funds and, master builders and all this other kind of stuff a couple of years ago, have been trying to build, I think it's like 1.2 million houses since from 2024 over 5 years, and they are not doing that. If anything, housing construction in Australia has gone backwards. It's not looking great, and the question then becomes, well, where is that money going? Why is it slowing down? Why is it so hard to build houses in Australia at this point?
And I mean, there's a number of different reasons as to why that might be the case. Like, obviously, there's a labor shortage.
Yeah.
The cost of materials has gone up since the pandemic. There's been lots of inflation. And so getting your hands on a lot of these materials is a lot more expensive. So if your inputs are more expensive, the houses are more expensive. The actual, getting people away from Victoria's big build, where they're getting, corrupt union rates to go and stand and hold a lollipop sign saying stop for, $2,700 an hour. Pulling them away from those. Obviously, if you've got these massive infrastructure projects going, it's going to be much harder to get labor for your, sort of random little housing developments, right? Yeah. So there's a lot of different reasons, right?
And the other aspect, the reason for this is the Treasury a year or two ago said, we should probably look at revising the National Construction Code down a bit. It's a pretty beefy document.
Well, that's the great thing about being the government, is if you're not hitting your targets, you can just revise the targets. Couldn't do that in sales. Can't do that in sales. I actually think 10 grand a month of annual recurring revenue is too high. I would suggest my target is half that. Thanks. I'll still get paid, though. Fantastic.
And Andrew Bragg's been on a committee that's been hearing evidence about sort of, trying to, sharpen up the National Construction Code, so to speak. The National Construction Code was invented in like 1980 something, and it has grown significantly. The last bunch of changes that went through a couple of years ago, and they, put extra requirements on energy efficiency, so going from 6-star to 7-star now, as well as various access requirements, right? So making sure you've got level to get into the shower. There's no lip pick; you can go straight into the shower, and
access requirements for people who are
old
disabled.
people, or just elderly people. We've got a growing population, right?
I'll never get old, Adam. I'll live forever in perfect health.
Never gonna fucking die.
Never gonna fucking die, man.
So, I guess the Liberals have decided that this is the hill they're going to die on, and they've now, in his Maiden Press Club speech, Andrew Bragg then proceeded to spend 20 minutes bashing Labor, the unions, super funds, the socialist, devil's triangle of Dan Andrews, Anthony Albanese, and the CFMEU all together, just having an orgy, basically. And this is the reason why people can't build houses.
I really think Andrew Bragg's sleep demon must be Dan Andrews in a sports jacket, just standing half illuminated in the doorway going, up the unions. Oh, God.
And to be clear, there are, like the CFMEU has a role in this, don't get me wrong. But anyway, the point being is the way he sold this was, we're going to build cheaper homes with this revised code, and everything's going to be great, and we should adopt this, and this is going to be a coalition policy basically going forward.
And to some degree, like, I understand in theory how an argument like this might work, where it's like, the code is
sounds great on paper. You joining the dots together, great.
The code is too expansive. Regular, sort of small and medium-sized builders can't get their head around it. I really do think there is something there with regards to how the complexity of regulations grows and accretes over the years, right? Where it's like, if you're just adding and adding and adding, eventually the system becomes so Byzantine and complex that like regular people can't navigate it and understand it. And that's a problem. Part of the reason that it has grown so much in page length, though, is because of things like graphics and explainers and scenarios that they've put in there to say, if you're in this scenario, this is what you should do. And those things more than the actual like code itself necessarily is what has expanded the page count of this document.
Correct.
And
as well as various little exceptions as well. So for and we can get into sort of the complexity of it, but to try and keep it at a high level is like it's not just 2,000 pages on how to build a home. There's like other stuff there.
There's other stuff happening. And the thing is, like, I understand that argument about complexity, making things more difficult for small builders. I do get that. Also, at the same time, I'm aware that regulations and the reason that they accrete and grow and change over the years is because of additional context. You know, people see loopholes coming up. They go, we're going to fix that and you got to change it. Like regulations are, when they've been designed thoughtfully, are there to protect people's safety and to ensure that, you know, we've got a housing system that is both fair and equitable and energy efficient and accessible. Yeah. And like, it's not just for, you go, well, the whole thrust of this 80-page thing is like, you just got the bare safety essentials and that's it. Everything else is a paid extra. And it's like, you can't like upsell people on disability features because, as you say, Adam, people get old, right? So all you're really doing by making like these disability things a paid extra is you're then putting it back on the homeowner to go, well, you're not old now. Don't you want a cheaper home? So I'll take a cheaper home now. And then you get to 60 and you break a hip. And then you go, oh, fuck, it would have been good if this house was like...
If the doorway was
accessible.
a minimum length to get a wheelchair through. That would have been great.
So regulations do make things more expensive, but like oftentimes there's good reason for that because you don't anticipate that you're going to be the beneficiary necessarily of these regulations going forward. What if someone in the future buys this house and is disabled or, you know, or gets old? And, you know, like rather than putting the onus back on homeowners to have to retrofit all of their houses, you know, in the future to accommodate these needs, why not just build the houses with these things in mind from the start? And then we don't need to do that, right? So,
that's just one aspect of it, right? Like the other aspect is, you know, the reason why we have energy regulations is because people spend shitloads on power. Like, yeah, great, you built
cost
the house.
Cost of living, right? You care about cost of living as a government? Well, then you want high energy standards, presumably.
You don't want to have to spend shitloads on heating and cooling. Like, this is one of the things that we're trying to get out of. Because turns out a lot of the houses built in the 60s, 70s, and 80s are dog shit.
Dog shit, filled with asbestos. A regulation. A regulation that we introduced that said, hey, no more fucking asbestos. Turns out that shit is cancer, quite literally.
Like, I mean, this is there's a philosophical argument here as well around sort of how long should a house last? How long should a house last for? There are some countries that view it as, well, a house should last for like 30 years and then you knock it down, you do another one, right?
Yeah, that's more the approach in Japan, right? Where it's like they're constantly knocking down and rebuilding, right?
Correct. So that there is a philosophical approach there to like what is that. But in Australia, generally we think houses should last a long time.
A generation, maybe two.
Perhaps,
right?
Yes. Not to mention, like, if you change the construction code and you strip it right back, like the value of a house, if you try to resell it, of like one of these shit boxes versus like
this is the thing,
is well-built house.
Rather than having a minimum standard across everything that's ubiquitous, you now have a situation where you go, okay, I'm about to offer some money on the house. Wait. Did you pay for the optional extra of like having a good house though? Or like, do I have to go back and like read through the fucking construction stuff? Like it's now you are no longer comparing apples to apples as a buyer if this code comes through because you now have to be au fait with and cognizant of the different levels of modular standards that might apply.
No one understands.
When you're buying a house, no one understands that. I had trouble explaining interest rates to someone the other day. Okay, I was like, people don't get this stuff, right?
The National Construction Code, to be clear, it's talking about like how should joints fit together? How should bricks be laid on top of each other? How many bricks, in a row of bricks, where should the weep hole go? Yeah. Like, these are the kind of specifics that the National Construction Code gets into.
And there's a whole sub-industry on TikTok of, there's this guy that I follow.
Oh, yeah.
He just follows around and he goes, oh, that's not compliant. Look at this. This drainage is right here. That's fucking unacceptable. Who are these monkeys who built this place? This is fucking weird. Look at this marble. That doesn't join up with the wall there. That's not compliant. And you know what? Very fun to watch.
It's great.
It's very entertaining. I can't explain why, but it is.
It is. And So yeah, it is complicated building a house, but like there are reasons for it. Boxes we built back in the 60s, you know, that we need to get better from that, and houses need to last longer, because we pay a lot of money for them.
Yeah.
The other thing that, I mean, the central thing here is that Andrew Bragg is trying to tie the concept down of, well, we can build homes to a lower standard and we can build them cheaper. But Andrew Bragg is sort of what this story that he's trying to put out here is that, and he's also saying it's Labor's construction code. This is the other thing that gave me the shits. It's a national construction code that the Liberals have been in charge of, if not longer than Labor has.
Yeah. Remind me, who was in charge for 13 years before the Albanese government? I'm just trying to remember who that was. There's some sort of coalition.
Coalition.
Coalition. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Cocaine.
Yeah.
The
ketamine.
The assertion that like the national that just doing this is going to fix housing prices.
Bro, if you just get rid of the fucking housing standards and you build a bunch of shit boxes, you can fucking churn them out real quick.
And the other thing that's really important here is that we need to understand this is the construction code on how to build a house. It doesn't talk about state regulation. Look, this is the federal legislation or federal document. Each state basically has to
gets their own 600 pages on their own regional differences, right?
Well, it's not even that. They have to. It's like states. The actual like housing legislation is actually enforced by the states.
Yes.
So they have to. Yeah. So they have to like basically take the code and either agree to it or amend it. So even if you revise it to 80...
It's not as simple as just going, this is the new federal standard, we're all on the same page. Like, everyone's got their own systems that they would need to opt into this or not, right?
Queensland, and that's because building a house in different states is actually different. The soil types are different. The temperatures are different. Building a house in Victoria is drastically different to building a house in Queensland. So there has to be differences.
There's flood risks in Queensland, which you may not have in Melbourne. There's colder temperatures in Melbourne and Tasmania that you may not have in Queensland.
In Victoria and
heating
Tasmania.
And cooling. It's very, very different, right?
The energy ratings are all different. Or the way, the factors that go into an energy rating are all different.
Australia is a big fucking country. I don't think people really appreciate how large of a country
geography fucks
Australia is, right? You know, like if you were in London and you flew for the same amount of hours that it would take for me in Melbourne to get to Brisbane, you'd be in like Portugal. You know, like you'd be like 3 countries away.
You're in a non-extraditable country at that point.
Yeah.
Like
you can do whatever you like. If the Louis Theroux Manosphere documentary is to be believed, you can do whatever you want in fucking Mallorca.
The other thing that Andrew Bragg keeps talking about is that, well, New Zealand's got an 80-page code. Well, New Zealand's code is different. The way they legislated is completely different. They've got like a hub and spoke model. They have a centrals document, which is 80 pages, and they go, refer to this other thing, which is sitting somewhere else. If you want to go look at bricks, go over there. If you want to look at plumbing, go over there. If you want to look at this thing for this particular state, go over there.
It's what you do when you've got a really tight page limit on a bid and you just have a bunch of annexes.
Yeah.
And you go,
literally,
this is the bid within 10 pages. Now, if you want to know anything about how we do this stuff, refer to reference document 1, refer to reference document 2, refer to reference document 3. Yes, they're all 60 pages, but we technically made it under the 10-page limit for this bid.
The other thing that the National Construction Code has been attempting to do for a number of years now is get greater consistency among the way buildings are actually built. So the reason is that, you know, it might say you've got to have like a real, you know, it's one of those like sort of like high level statements like buildings must be created under like I'm trying to think of an example now, which off the fly, which is
vision statements.
Yeah, it's like vision statements. So it's like you know, concrete must be level. You know, it's like,
but
okay,
level? How level is it?
It's probably a bad example, but like, the concept is that the national, you know, that like one building surveyor might interpret, you know, the way
regulations in one way,
and another building surveyor will interpret it in another. You know, like for waterproofing, we're going to waterproof it this way. Well, does that meet the requirements of the code? Well, it's subjective, right? So the National Construction Code has recently, as you said, there are diagrams, there are ways that we are trying to demonstrate of what the acceptable, pass mark is, which is designed to make building approvals go faster because everyone's on the same page.
That's
right?
the idea, I suppose. Yeah. In practice, yeah.
So this is the construction code. This doesn't get into things like setbacks, zoning restrictions, height limits, minimum floor requirements, like the kind of things that are set out in each state legislation that the code sort of touches on but doesn't really go into a great detail of, and then vary between states.
And my understanding is that the things that, when you read the literature about what is in fact preventing people from building homes faster, it's those things that we talked about before, labor and materials, but also the main thing that comes up is zoning. It's not generally
council approvals.
It's council approvals. Can you get allotments of land parceled out and approved in a reasonable amount of time? That seems to be the thing that is blocking development more than I don't fucking understand how hard the door is supposed to be because there's too many pages. Too many fucking pages, bro.
So this is all to say that while I'm happy that the coalition has actually produced a piece of paper for once.
You look happy.
Great. I'm so happy.
And with his hands go, I'm so happy.
I'm so fucking glad, man.
Oh,
I've been asking for a document, and they've finally given me a document.
I've seen the documents.
But this is because when you can judge that document, you can't it's not just a vague statement, it's something they've put on paper, and what they've put on paper is dog shit.
Yeah, it's bad.
It's not going to work.
It's bad. Everyone hates it.
It's not going to fucking work.
So,
what I'm getting concerned about is they are successfully now, this guy's, Andrew Bragg is a bloody Leonardo da Vinci of joining the dots. The dots have been joined in, the picture he is woven is one of a corrupt system run by Labor and the unions, and that if we only had a simpler code, things would be so much better. And,
it's an appeal. It's got inherent conservative appeal, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We just want to cut
deregulating.
We've got to deregulate. We just got to fucking make it simpler. I get the simplicity of the idea, but as some of the articles that we'll post in the show notes go into some detail in, it's not about how many pages there are in the thing. It's about how easy is it for people to follow. And even if you made it more simplistic for builders to follow, this is not the root cause of the housing problem, right? Even if you fix this, which would be good to fix, it wouldn't necessarily have the effect that he says it's going to have. Now, Andrew Bragg ran into a little bit of trouble this week when he was out there spruiking this proposed policy, saying that essentially following it would lead to some Australians having to put up with substandard housing. So the opposition spokesman for housing took the coalition's housing agenda, which seeks to slash the National Construction Code from almost 2,000 pages to just 80, to the National Press Club in Canberra this week, asked on the following day on ABC News Radio whether the plan meant low-income earners would have to accept substandard housing in order to afford a house. Senator Bragg said, quote, "Yes, definitely. And I think we've got to be clear, there are trade-offs," he continued. "And I've been counselled not to use the term Maslow's hierarchy because perhaps some people don't know what that means. Also, fuck this guy. What an arrogant, condescending prick. But I mean, if it's more important to have a house than to not have a house, and so given the affordability crisis we have in the housing system, we just need to build more houses," unquote. The next day, however, after he got a bunch of really mean mentions in his tweets, Senator Bragg issued a correction to his social media accounts, claiming to have misheard host Sally Sarah's question about housing standards. Now, how possibly could that be construed as him having misheard? He answered the question perfectly. It's not like she said, are people going to have to accept substandard housing in order to get a house? And he said, yes, Tuesday. Like, he
Said,
answered the
"Yes,
question.
Definitely.
He just did it honestly, which is obviously not the intention when a politician starts talking. So the idea that it was a mishearing of the question is ludicrous. But I think he just backpedaled on the remarks because they were unsavory and upsetting to a lot of people to say, "Hey, now you're going to have to live in an unsound shitbox in order to be able to afford a home." Turns out people don't love that message.
He has, he said, the houses they'll be, he's used a very key set of words, and I've got to find what they, houses to built to the standard will be strong, safe and sound homes with all the basic amenity such as insulation, plumbing and sewerage.
Oh, God, thank God. I was worried I wouldn't get sewerage. I'd flush the toilet. It just shoots out into the fucking living room. Thanks, Andrew. Oh, no, that's fucking good. I'm glad you clarified that. It's sewage.
But they won't be waterproof.
Sewage and insulation. What a lucky boy.
Yeah, so, look, I haven't read the actual policy document, but what I've read
Adam, it's only 80 pages.
I can knock that out on the way to the...
Knock it out.
On the way to work.
It's a pamphlet.
Yeah, anyway, I just think this is... I think they've successfully spun the narrative here a little bit, but I think God help us if they get in, by some miracle next election, and they actually have to put this thing into practice. It's going to be a disaster. But anyway,
yeah,
I'm happy that they put something in paper. Like, good on them. They can.
And sadly, this is probably why the Liberal Party has avoided doing this in the past, is because they've been running a small target strategy. Why put out policy papers? Why put out, actual ideas that can then get ripped apart by dudes on a podcast with basic Google skills and make you the news cycle for this week rather than Anthony Albanese and the Melons, right? It doesn't, sadly, for us policy wankers, it's great whenever a proposed policy comes out. We go, let me tell you the ways in which this is a fucketh idea. But if the Australian public is not demanding this of them, and they are under no obligation to provide policy in advance of an election because it only makes them a target, well, why would they? Sadly, this is the state of politics that we're in, where it's well, we'll let you know at fucking election time when all the nerds sit down and work it out on the costings. Fucking leave us alone. Which, hey, isn't the guy in charge a big fuckhead? That's all they need to do, right? So this is exactly why they don't do this.
I mean, but it wouldn't. I don't know if it would have been they've got time. Just spend the extra 6 months and a couple $100,000. Pay a consultant.
I love that you think that they're interested in making good policy.
They would make something better than that.
They're not interested in making good policy. They're interested in winning. That's all they're interested in. A good policy is something that you develop on the run once you're in power in order to avoid political accountability for the big fuck up that just came up in the news. And then you announce a big policy.
Studying project management is absolutely frustrating as fuck. It is just hate it. Anyway, so that's what's been happening federally. Meanwhile, in New South Wales, their ICAC, which I've forgotten what that actually stands for, Independent Commission Against Corruption.
Yes, there you go.
Has been starting a series of hearings under what they've called Operation Rosny. I don't know where they got Rosny from, but that's what the operation was called. And they are starting 8 weeks of public hearings. I think it was this week it started.
Yes.
2 weeks ago.
July.
End of July.
So they've started. Yes, is my point. Yeah.
Yes.
So I love it. I love an ICAC. I love an ICAC or an IBAC. Love it.
IBAC-CAC. Back in
IBAC-CAC. Back in CAC. The famous AC/DC album.
Yes, indeed. So there are a number of things that these hearings will examine, and we'll talk about some of the headlines that have come out since they've started these hearings. The first one was whether political donations were sought or made by some New South Wales Liberal Party operatives in breach of electoral laws.
Now, this is all still,
before the courts.
Yes. So I don't love getting sued. I assume you don't either. So we're just going to put a little sprinkle of allegedly
all through this.
Yep.
I'm
Go
just
ahead.
reading the article.
Yep.
We're citing
Take
our
it up
source
with the
material.
ABC, bro.
Yep.
Don't take it up. Don't take it up with us, Jean Nassif. It's got nothing to do with us. Talk to the ABC, buddy.
ICAC is also looking at whether Catholic Schools New South Wales made donations arranged and approved by Chief Executive Dallas McInerney without disclosing them and above donation caps to help fund Liberal Party branch stacking.
Now,
ones...
seems like he might have.
Allegedly.
In one man's opinion.
We'll talk about some other ones here. Whether the company, Paz Libden, made donations in breach of several electoral laws on behalf of hotelier Michael O'Hara to help fund branch stacking.
Again, I judge for yourself, but like, I don't know, I don't know.
Those questions?
Just ask questions.
Whether Mr. Nassif made donations in breach of electoral laws to help fund branch stacking in return for favours, including damaging people's careers.
I'm seeing a theme here.
Where there is stacking of
branches.
Branches, yeah.
Could you explain for the people what branch stacking is, for those who don't know?
Oh, branch stacking. I've got to remember now.
As the guy who constantly rails about local politics needing to sort out their branch stacking problem, can you explain to the good people
branch
of the internet
stacking
what it
is like, so you've got political parties, and then there's like local branches, like your local Liberal Party office.
Dandenong Liberal Party office.
The Dandenong Liberal
Stacked
Party
with the absolute
office.
fucking winners of the area, you could guarantee it.
And the concept is, the way it's meant to work is you become a member of the party of your local branch. And then you can attend those meetings and you can vote, you can wave, you can go to the social functions, get the free coffee and the little cakes that they give you. And
just
you can
absolutely nothing going on in your life, clearly.
Yeah.
No family, no friends.
You can attend those meetings and, every time there's an election, you can nominate. People will nominate people that are going to stand, and then they will become the local member for that area.
Or
so
the
they'll become the
candidate
member
to be
for
the
Dandenong.
member. Yeah.
Right? So branch stacking is where you start bringing in extra members who don't live in Dandenong.
I suppose you couldn't bring in people that aren't from in the area, but like obviously...
All of a sudden... 500 people joined the branch.
all of a sudden, a bunch of people who love George join the branch, all of a sudden George gets elevated into a position of power within the branch, right?
Correct. And then those people either stay or disappear.
Who asked all of these friends of George to come
why
in?
Are there? Well, membership numbers went way up. Why is that?
He seems like a loser. How does he have this many friends? How does he have 500 friends all in Dandenong? That's so weird.
And the other things that alleges, branch stacking is about influencing like who's actually getting voted for in these branches and that kind of thing, right? So, in terms of influencing the how people vote. So that's what branch stacking is, roughly speaking. There's some other things,
and it's important because the members of the parties at the branch level, as you say, so like candidates feed up into who might eventually become the member, or members of committees and things like that. Like
who will become the minister, who will become the premier, who will become the
It's meant to be what's the word? Democracy, where the people in the constituencies like actually have a say in who their party elects and represents, right? So if there is tampering with that process, you are fundamentally undermining the process of democracy, right?
I mean, this is how, Putin, the Americans, how their system's kind of cooked, because at the base level, it is completely broken.
Yeah.
Anyway, so ICAC are looking into these things now. This week, there was so one of the people they're looking into, Dallas McInerney, was quizzed over at ICAC over some messages that he'd been sending back and forth to various people about dealings he has had with Angus Taylor. Angus Taylor, obviously being the opposition leader, federal opposition leader. So he was the former head of the Catholic School Authority in New South Wales. And they were examining some text messages that were sent back and forth. I'm going to find the actual text message now. Here we go. So it was a screenshot from an exchange between Mr. McInerney and this group called the Reformers. Probably should mention who they are. The Reformers are basically a faction.
A right-wing conservative Christian faction within New South Wales the Liberal Party.
Correct. So
they sound like a fun hang.
They sound like a fun hang, indeed. Yeah. So it's like a political organisation within a political organisation, basically.
Shadow government.
So this text was between Mr. McInerney and Reformers co-founder Robert Nassif about Angus Taylor. And Mr. McInerney said, I have breakfast club with the ministers this Thursday morning. Who can I get an update from? RESCD, which is State Council delegates, progress in the last 6 to 12 months. I want to shake down Angus for 10K. So what the imputation is there is that what the ICAC are trying to sort of
substantiate,
find out is that whether or not Dallas had basically asked Angus Taylor for a donation that would be used towards reformer political purposes, basically. Now, in addition to that, there is another former Liberal staffer called Dylan Whitelaw who claimed Mr. McInerney... Whitelaw, secured a $15,000 payment and ongoing monthly donations from Angus Taylor for the group's work.
Of $3,000 a month, which is not an insignificant amount.
Now, apparently Mr. McInerney had said that, yes, I approached under questioning. He said that he'd approached Angus for some money, but it wasn't about the reformer stuff. It was about other Liberal Party things that were happening.
State Party level stuff.
Normal State Party, not about these weird Christian dudes. Just about
ignore the guys in the hoods.
That's fine. Just about general political crap.
Boy, it is getting hot next to this burning cross, I have to say. It is a hot night.
And Angus Taylor, since this has all been happening, Angus Taylor has been receiving several questions at press conferences from journalists, and he has just been he's just been like batting them away with a baseball bat, trying to sort of shut the whole thing down. I believe his line that he has said a couple of times now is, "I won't give a running commentary on the matter," and no payment was made, as far as I'm aware. And to be clear, I don't think Dallas has also said that no payment was actually made in this case. But the question is really around whether or not, again, he was deliberately seeking, money for the intended purpose here.
And around the donation laws,
correct.
Right? Like, so
correct.
when you donate to a political party, or, there are specific laws in place as to how much a person can donate and when and how frequently and all that sort of stuff.
Declare it and all that sort of stuff.
It needs to be declared. So presumably it would be outside those laws. That's what they're sort of investigating there.
Yeah.
That's the assertion, at least.
But there was a press conference this week where Angus was asked several times by a journalist about it and was very evasive. And after the press conference wrapped up, they were still rolling the cameras, I guess. And one of Angus Taylor's staffers went over to the journalist and had a ripe go at her. It was a Channel 10 journalist. And the quote was, "Are your ratings that bad?" The staffer asked, adding, "Seriously, that's a freaking disgrace." And then and the journalist responded, "What?" Asking questions about an ICAC investigation, to which the staffer said, "Yes, and he answered them like 500 times. No wonder 10 News Plus got cut," and they walked off, which is a sick burn.
Slay. What a slay queen.
10 News Plus. Yeah.
I don't understand. I mean, that's a separate issue.
I never watched it.
No one watched it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I don't. What is it with these? Like, you're in front of a bunch of news cameras and microphones. Just shut the fuck up until you leave.
Let it go. Just let it go.
Like, if you really want to buttonhole them and give them, verbal them after the fact, pull them aside in the corridor and say, "Hey, fucking, watch your mouth around the fucking minister."
You'll see they'll be
Haven't they ever seen House of Cards? Fucking shit talk someone in front of the cameras. What are you doing, my guy?
Insane. But yeah, it's just been a bit of a sideshow this week. Outside Barnaby Joyce saying that One Nation was the gayest party in Australia.
I couldn't believe that. I was just like, what? What is more like One Gation? Am I right? Barnaby, what are you doing, mate?
But yet the news has just been focused on the melons.
The melons.
The melons.
It's obviously the most important story in geopolitics, Adam. What else could we be talking about?
We could be talking about AI and the pivots that are starting to happen there. So,
but yeah, just to close this off, super interested to hear about all of the alleged corruption that's being identified
ongoing.
In this ICAC.
Ongoing.
Yeah, 8 weeks of ICAC. And how are we so lucky that we get out of the blue 8 weeks of ICAC hearings? How did that happen?
A little bit of ICAC. Yeah,
is it my
ICAC
birthday?
I mean,
just seeing liberal politicians squirming uncomfortably. Very nice.
To be clear, the ICAC hearings are generally boring as hell. Like they're not great.
I don't know about that. I mean, it's not like you sort of, you're not going to see like bets on Kalshi about it, but like it's it's not like an AFL game, but like for nerds like me, it's probably about as exciting as it gets.
I'm sure Polymarket's got some odds on it.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, so stay tuned. We'll see a bunch of people who are denying things, making very different sorts of statements, perhaps in the weeks ahead.
No, I didn't mean for it to.
What I meant was. Okay, I misheard.
Corruption for general Liberal Party purposes.
General Liberal Party corruption purposes, allegedly. Delightful.
Good.
You hate to see it. Speaking of hating to see it, OpenAI. So it seems as though, according to this article in the Financial Times, that US AI labs such as OpenAI and Anthropic are coming under increasing pressure to release cheaper models out to the public as they fight to retain cost-conscious customers who are switching to cut-price alternatives from Chinese rivals. The price war comes as rising AI bills push companies to curb usage and seek cheaper models, helping Chinese developers, including Moonshot and DeepSeek, make inroads with users from Silicon Valley to Europe. OpenAI recently said that it was slashing prices for GPT 5.6 Luna, its fastest and most affordable model, by 80%. Anthropic has launched Claude Opus 5, touting the system's frontier intelligence at half the price of Fable 5, the company's most capable model. So it seems as though there's been a lot of talk recently about how, these companies they were set to start raising their prices, right? There's been long forecasted, sort of rumors about, well, not even rumors, Anthropic in particular announced that it was going to increase the cost per token of Sonnet 5, which is the most popular sort of mid-tier model. And that was going to happen in September. And now they're starting to backtrack on that. And I think it's because the economics of a lot of these subscriptions kind of don't really work all that well for the US frontier model providers. So a lot of people complained. There was a lot of commentary on Reddit over the last 6 months about, the various new levels of Opus, right, which is the high level model, or was up until recently the most high level model of Anthropic's. Opus 4.6 everyone thought was pretty good. Opus 4.7 came out, and clearly there'd been some tinkering behind the scenes to try and save money on tokens from Anthropic's part, and that kind of fucked the output. And then everyone on the Reddit has been really salty since then. Opus 4.8, Opus 5, and the commentary has been that there's been a real degradation in the quality of the outputs of these models. And they think part of the reasoning behind that is because they're trying to use methods like caching and things like that to bring the cost down for themselves internally whilst not losing the quality of the outputs. And the reason that's important is if you're writing an email, you probably don't need Opus 5 to write an email. But if you're coding or doing something like that, you probably want the most advanced model thinking in the most advanced way to get you the best result. And And so any sort of substantial differentiation in terms of how these models operate, or degradation in quality, or mistakes or errors, can cost users a lot of time and money if you're building a software project, because it might mean that you need to spend extra hours or time or effort or additional runs debugging the software, right? So it's not to us normie users who are just using AI to like write emails or like compile a search, it's not a meaningful difference. If you're using this for like real business purposes, it's a massive difference how one version of a model performs compared to another. And so constantly you'll see all these different models coming out. Oh, the new Kimi Code model performs this much better on this benchmark compared to this one, whereas the Claude Code Fable model is even better than that, but if you've got to run it on high versus extra high. And so Anthropic and OpenAI have got sort of like notoriously expensive models, right? But even with all of that said, they're losing money. This is all funded by venture capital. The cost of inference, my $34 a month Claude subscription, if I use it fully, probably almost certainly costs Anthropic more than $34 for them to run my queries and send them back to me, right? The idea is that they build up the user base and then we'll figure out how to jack up the prices later in order to actually make it profitable.
They'll enshittify it. Just, it's the same thing that Uber and other, companies have done. They'll eventually enshittify the product once they've gobbled up market share, or they've IPO'd and everyone can cash out, right?
Yeah. And the thing is, it's like, it is, but unlike Uber, which eventually became a sustainable business, like the AI labs in the US are in a really difficult position, because it's like for every additional customer they acquire, they are losing additional money currently. And so I guess the only option they have is to try and gobble up market share and then try and switch, as Anthropic has been trying to do in recent months, to API-based usage. You pay for what you consume, right? And then that way we can guarantee a margin on it, and then all of a sudden we're in the green rather than these subscription-based models. Yeah. And the problem is that these Chinese rivals are fucking eating their lunch. So
China.
I saw some commentary online about this, people comparing the cost per token using Anthropic, right, using Claude models versus using the latest DeepSeek models. And
DeepSeek is
a Chinese company, yeah. So I think allegedly initially they sort of burst onto the scene because they had this new model and it was much cheaper to run and much cheaper to build. And then there came some commentary after that being like, we might have distilled OpenAI's models, cheeky. but yeah, essentially these third-party Chinese models like DeepSeek and Moonshot, which does, there's all these different models out there, Kimi Code and all this sort of thing, which are offering much, much cheaper inference than these American models and maintaining fairly high levels of quality of outputs. So you look at a situation where people were talking online about using API cost billing, right? Cost per usage for DeepSeek versus Anthropic. Anthropic, they were like, oh, cost per million tokens, this was $50 or something that I spent on, this amount of usage. Doing the same thing with DeepSeek, I put $2 in my API account and it's been like 3 weeks and I still haven't exhausted it. So clearly someone, who the Chinese government, who you don't exactly know, but someone is they're happy to run it at a much larger loss than the American companies in order to get, to sort of get some market share. And this is also in the same week. Sorry, you go. You were about
I was just going to say, we also don't know, these are all cloud-based things. None of these models, some of them are running locally, but these are all running into these go off to data servers and they come back. The answers come back to you,
but
right?
Yes, but DeepSeek and other providers, Glimmer was just released by Meta, which is a completely open model. A lot of these open models are now also coming out that you can just run locally on your computer for free, just open weight, open source models.
That's, I think, going to change the game at some point. But I guess what I'm getting at here is we don't know, as you said, how much the Chinese government is potentially subsidizing, leveraging, how many data centers they've built compared to, say, the US. We don't know the behind-the-scenes math as to what's powering all this and, how they're able to offer that cost. But I imagine it's much the same as any industry, where China has sort of offered productivity gains over the US in that its labor and materials are cheaper over there, and therefore
It's got something to do
what
with
they
that, I'm
offer
sure. Yeah.
is cheaper. I mean, are they potentially subsidizing it from a government level? I don't know, but it wouldn't surprise me if they were. So yeah, I guess is this really just a short way of saying all this stuff? Like this, the reason why this is important. This is what I think you're leading to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, is that there is some sort of booble, otherwise known as a bubble.
A booble. I'm not familiar with the word.
A boobal. A bubble that exists in the AI space in the United States. And the more the Chinese models are able to compete and that the business models don't stack up with these US companies, the more that business model starts to collapse. Like, are we talking about it could be a huge collapse. Like, because not to mention, people, it's not just the people who are using these tools, it's like the amount of investment and, as you said, venture capital that's in all the data centers that are powering
They
it.
need to get their money back, right? That's the number one thing for these venture capital investors is I don't want to just 1x or 2x my money. I want to 100x my money.
People think this is going to be like the second coming of Christ in terms of
and it's something we've sort of touched on a little bit before. Sort of saying you can get these open source models and you can run them locally. Yeah, they're slower. Yeah, they're not as good. You can still get pretty good results.
But if you're writing an email, most people aren't doing hardcore coding.
No.
Like the fraction of the market that's using these tools to do intense, busy work, with complex outputs and long prompts and complex instructions, the section of the market that's actually using them for those ends is probably, I'm going to say, a very small percentage.
Of the total economy, sure, yeah.
Yeah, of the total economy. Most people are just going, tell Deborah to fuck off, but nicely. Maybe give me some analysis of this 2000. Give me some analysis of the 2000 of the 2000-page national construction code. Give me a one pager of the main points of whatever.
I really do think that. So there's a couple of things going on there. There's the open models, right? The idea that you can just have a local large language model hosted on your machine. It's running off your graphics card and getting pretty good outputs. That is one element of it. I think that is still, there's not like a killer app for that just yet. Like you can download Olama, which is kind of like an open source thing.
It'll come though. The user interface is something that'll be,
you can pull models and download them onto your machine and use them like you would ChatGPT. It's not perfect. It's still more techie than I think the vast majority of people would be comfortable with, right?
But all you need is someone just make an user interface for that, and it's fine.
Yeah, I mean it's pretty simple, but I would say people don't know about it. They're not necessarily interested when you can just go to ChatGPT with a free account and type in a query and get something back, right? So there's that element of it, like the usability of it. Then there's also the point of diminishing returns potentially with AI, where it's like OpenAI and Anthropic are the prime sort of movers in this space. They're the frontier of the frontier, right? They're the ones spending billions and cajillions of dollars to train these models to get the absolute best next version of this model, right?
And potentially doing the human race in the process.
Well, that's 10% chance. And that may be worthwhile for them. It may be not. But in business, there's something called the second mover advantage, right? So the prime mover advantage is one we're all familiar with. You get there first, you own the market, and then you scale, right? Uber, prime mover advantage. The second mover advantage is something that's less talked about, but is also still quite powerful, is you let the prime mover go and spend infinite money on research and development.
They pave the way. They plow the snow out of the way.
Great. Do all the hard work, spend the quadrillions of dollars needed to be at the cutting edge of this research, and then I'll skate in right behind you, Stephen Bradbury style, and
cut your lunch.
And cut your lunch and sell a version of your product for 10 cents on the dollar for what you're charging for it, because we don't have all of these R&D costs that we need to amortize and return to our investors, right? So I think what you're seeing here is now is, and so there's that element of it. And then third is the fact that these models from DeepSeek and others are now increasingly competent. Before it was a case of like, oh, you can get open source models or you can go to these third model cloud providers. And yes, it's cheap or cheaper compared to OpenAI or Anthropic, but the models aren't as good. And I think now with like DeepSeek 4 and like Quencoder Next and like some of these new models that are coming out, and DeepSeek has just released their own harness, which we'll talk about in a sec. What you're getting to now is it's a situation where I think for some of these alternate model providers, we're almost at parity with the frontier models from OpenAI and Anthropic. And that presents a really challenging scenario where it's like, oh, well, it's not like 80% as good. It's like 95% as good. And it's also 10x cheaper. So it's like if you're one of these, big companies like DoorDash or whatever that are freaking out about your token costs, that like Uber blew through their AI budget for the year in 4 months unexpectedly because they're encouraging all of this AI use, maybe it becomes an economically rational decision to go, well, maybe I trust DeepSeek with all of this sort of stuff, because what's the point of paying more for something that's only marginally a little bit better? It becomes a rational economic decision to go, well, we can look at these open models, we can evaluate them, we can see if they're any good. We can, all of this harness that DeepSeek has just released is open source, so we can look at it and evaluate and we can see it's secure. So that kind of alleviates any of the like Chinese government concerns that people might have with some of these models.
Which is a massive concern, I think. Most, AI data sovereignty is something that's really coming into the fore at the moment.
And I think that's the last piece of it. If you have a situation where data center providers here in Australia or in different localities are getting enough of a demand for some of these models because they're so much cheaper,
they'll start hosting
them. If they're hosted here in Australia or here in whatever locality, that alleviates a lot of the other security concerns that people have with large language model providers going, oh, okay, well, it's safe. It's hosted here in Australia. So I don't know if it's going to pop the bubble per se, but what I'm saying is it is putting a lot of additional pressure on providers like Anthropic and OpenAI, which are clearly cognizant of this kind of like cache,
which is why they've dropped
compute.
All their prices.
Yeah, they're obviously cognizant of this cache compute crunch situation that they've been dealing with. They seem to have solved the problem, from what I can tell, of getting more compute so they can physically keep up with the demand. But they haven't necessarily solved the problem of like, where does our pricing fit into the market, that we can provide our service in a way that's actually profitable for us, right? And I think that's where they're going to face increasing pressure now from competition to sort of go, well, now there's like all these other entrants in the market. Their service is pretty good. It's cheaper. Why would we go with Anthropic? Yes, it's technically the best, but if you look at all these benchmarks, it's not that much better. And especially when combined with
the other thing
your own harness now. So that was the thing. Like Claude Code was like the harness, the software experience that sits over the top of the large language models. And in order to use open models, most people would go through Claude Code to use it. So you'd be using the Claude Code interface, but you'd be plugging into your own large language model. And you'd have varying degrees of success with that because it's not optimized to work with Claude Code specifically, right? Obviously, Anthropic designs their large language models and they design the harness, so they work well together. So you might have a great model, but if it's not playing well with the harness, you'll get degraded results. It doesn't call the right tool at the right time. It doesn't look at the right piece of context or the right file before it starts doing something. If you have DeepSeek, who have just launched their own harness, which they have this week, and you can use a cheap DeepSeek model with a DeepSeek optimized to work with the DeepSeek harness, and it works pretty well, and it's a tenth of the price of Anthropic, then all of a sudden you're starting to talk about a real challenge in the market where people are like, I'm going to check it out. I'm sure other people are going to check it out. If I can pay $5 for my vibe coding fucking nonsense as opposed to $35 with Anthropic, that's an attractive proposition, right?
But I mean, the other thing to consider here though is that like The main, I would say, revenue
and it's better,
drivers.
from what I can see. It's got like full auditability and traceability. You can see every tool call, it's all open source. You can see it. It's all transparent and accountable, whereas Anthropic's is not, right? They hide a lot of that stuff because it's proprietary, right? So
the main revenue driver, for these companies is business, right? Businesses have to uptake the product, the tooling.
Enterprise.
And then, correct. And then, and then when it's used at scale, that's how they get large sums of money, income.
Yeah.
The problem is this is the main problem I've found with AI, LLMs in general, is the market is moving so fast that user groups, that their customers actually can't keep up. Yeah. Like in the real world, the change management of if implementing, using AI tools, making sure it's all used properly. It's, we're talking 6-month to year-long projects to roll these things out properly if you're doing it carefully. And what a lot of companies have is basically shadow AI, where it's like, Jim's just got his own little account and he's been using it and no one's really checking it, but the company's paying for it. It's like SaaS platforms, like shadow SaaS platforms. Each department's got their own bloody selection of SaaS platforms.
And just everyone's got like a handful of tools that they use and put on the company credit cards.
But the point being is, businesses try to downscale risk, they try to downscale cost. And so at some point, like, even if like what's happening, well, I guess what I'm getting at here is what's happening now, we're not going to see the effect of that for 6 months because it's going to take time to roll through.
I also am aware that, like platforms that use large language models in their outputs are also necessarily going to be at sort of a remove from like whatever the latest cutting edge frontier bleeding edge.
People are always going to roll,
right?
Run a version or two back because it's they don't want to.
You need stability
break
for
things.
business. You don't want to you switch on Grok 12 and it starts. You start writing an email for work and your work email starts coming out as Mecha Hitler, right? Like like people need reliability in business and it's. Being at the cutting edge of the frontier of what these models can do and are capable of is kind of anathema to that. I mean, I'm on the Olama mailing list, right? This service that allows you to download open source models. And I learn about what shit has dropped and what's happening in the industry from these emails. They're like, oh, this new NVIDIA model, this model that's been optimized to work on NVIDIA cards has just dropped. Oh, this new model that's a slight tweak on this that's optimized to work on Apple Silicon now means you can run the same model, but you can do it 90% faster than you could before. I'm learning day by day as emails are coming through about the latest shit that's happening in the industry.
But people aren't.
It changes every day. So it's the best coding model locally today is thought to be Quencode next. But 5 weeks ago, it was Quencode. And before that, it was Kimi Code 3. And 3 weeks before that, it was, Opus 4.6 was the granddaddy. It's changing so fast in terms of, what models are coming out and how you can harness them and new harnesses and what's, it's changing so fast that I don't know. I know for a fact that people are not sort of keeping up with it to the extent that I am, for example, right? So
no, I mean, a lot of businesses, there are still a large proportion of businesses that haven't even they aren't even using AI tooling. Yeah. So it's or that have a use case for it as well is the other thing.
To your question earlier, I don't know that this is going to pop the bubble per se. I know a lot of people are worried about when the AI bubble pops, but it is clearly placing additional cost price pressure on organizations like Anthropic, which are already experiencing significant cost price pressure. So
I think what will pop the bubble is going to be when they go to IPO and if one of them fails. They go to IPO.
I don't know, man. You really think the Anthropic API, the Anthropic IPO wouldn't just go up like a fucking rocket ship? I don't know, man.
The SpaceX one dropped fucking shitloads.
That was true, but that was because Elon pulled some weird shit with that. It was a limited amount, and he bypassed some sort of regulation that said needed to wait for a certain amount of time before it goes onto the S&P 500, so it was like automatically listed on a bunch of index funds
So,
right
like,
away, which meant fund
space-
managers
yeah.
had to buy it basically because it's now one of the largest companies, right?
So SpaceX, its highest it got to was $201 USD on 16th of June. It's now at 140 USD. But my point being, it's down 21%. I guess the point being here is that, like, what if one of these AI companies, like, they try to go for it and they realize they haven't got the, like, it doesn't, like, they don't actually end up going public because they realize it's not tenable, and then they fail on their own accord, or they IPO and then everyone rugs them and then that's it.
I mean, certainly there's a lot of people keen to get their money out, right? Obviously.
Yeah.
The question is, over 5 years, over 10 years, over 20 years, is this going to be a good bet for your wallet? I think there's a lot of people that would be really keen to buy OpenAI stock right now if they could. So
yeah, and then sell and then make money and sell it within 6 months. But
yeah,
like,
maybe.
But it's, maybe it's not an instant thing, but maybe it's like, 6 months, a year, because, and then, as you said, the what's coming in doesn't, like, their costs don't, their costs exceed their revenue.
And
that can only go on for so long.
It doesn't make sense to be at the bleeding edge where you're incurring all of the R&D costs and everyone else is just riding the draft behind you, picking up all the benefits of the stuff that you're laying down. So that they need to provide some sort of moat, Anthropic and OpenAI, if they are to still remain the frontier models and be competitive. It needs to be worth it for them to spend billions and billions of dollars on training new, better, more advanced versions of these models. There needs to be some sort of commercial return for that. Otherwise, the business model doesn't make sense. And I think for a lot of people in a lot of industries, the current generations of models that we have are probably like good enough for a lot of use cases.
They're fine.
I don't
you can
know
tell Deborah to fuck off nicely.
what marginal value like Fable 5.2 is going to have over the current. The current Fable is pretty good at coding.
It makes a PowerPoint presentation.
It makes it. It does it. Like the skills files, and there's other things that people use to sort of focus the models and make sure that they get the output that they want. But it's like, will Fable 6 be like twice as good as Fable 5? I don't know. Maybe not. And so if there's a point where these there's a point of diminishing returns where these models don't just keep getting better exponentially, they just get better incrementally, like a lot of other things do over time in terms of technical progress, then I think you might see a situation where the business model of these massive frontier model providers doesn't seem to make much sense anymore. And then Adam's making a bubble popping motion. I don't know. I really do think it is a revolutionary technology. But I'm concerned about I can't see a pathway, right? With Uber, I could see a pathway. It was like, yes, you're running at a loss now, running on venture capital in order to acquire market share. You're moving
but taxis suck, so
taxis suck, right? And so this is a better experience. And then they've increased, their fees and they stooge their drivers. But ultimately, it's become a profitable service. I don't know if I see that necessarily with OpenAI or Anthropic. I don't see the path. It's not obvious to me. So that's why I'm concerned.
It's almost like there's a bubble. Okay, we're going to move on. Final clip for this week is Donald Trump saying crazy shit.
He is. You've done very well. You've eaten your meat and potatoes. You've eaten your vegetables, and you've been a very good boy. So your mother and I think you deserve a spoonful of dessert. And this week, it's Donald Trump saying some crazy shit. My voice is going.
Stop talking, George. Roll the clip.
Oh, fuck me dead. Okay, so this is Donald Trump saying he's going to fucking take over the Strait of Hormuz or whatever because he's insane.
After we finish defeating Iran, which is being very badly defeated, pretty soon I'll be declaring the Hormuz Strait a territory of the United States. Essentially, that's what it is. We have the blockade. No ships get through unless we want them to. But, and how about Venezuela? Venezuela was a one-day war. And now we work great with them. We've taken in millions and millions of barrels of oil. But we're doing really good. We're doing good in every way. You know, I built the military, and now I used it a little bit more than I wanted to, frankly, but that's okay, because we cannot let Iran have a nuclear weapon. Do we agree? Can't let it.
Delusional.
The Strait of the US has lost this conflict. Basically, what's going to happen is, from what I've read, Iran and Oman are kind of working out some deal on the sideline where they're basically, because they're
on the way in, you got to go on the Oman side. On the way out, you got to go on the Iran side.
They're working out some way of, and like effectively, they will control, because they're the ones on either side of the strait that control the traffic. The question really is,
I'm going to declare it a territory of the United States. It's going to be Puerto Rico, the Puerto Rico of the Middle East.
How long the US can maintain a presence, you know, on the southern side of it. I don't know.
His inability to like back down and just admit that he fucked up and that he's a loser, like, will cost his party the midterms. Like, if this drags on into November, they are going to get shellacked at the midterms. I mean, it's already looking like it's going to be a resounding Democratic victory at the midterms. They might take the House and potentially the Senate at this rate. So, I mean, if that's the case, so we're looking at, you know, impeachment 3, Tokyo Drift. Who knows? But
I don't know. I mean,
he's willing to like throw the Republican Party on the bonfire out of his own personal pride and vanity. Like,
he doesn't care.
He just, you need to just take the fucking L, my dude, and just, you know, take whatever fucking terms the Iranians are willing to give you at this point and just fucking get out of there. Because this whole thing, the longer it goes on, the more you lose. There was a big story out last week about how the US is like running out of interceptors. They've got like half as many as they had when this shit started. And like, God forbid, some other conflict pops off. You know, God forbid, China decides to invade Taiwan. They go, well, now's the fucking time. The Americans are weak as shit. What are they going to do? How are they going to defend themselves? Like, the lead time on building these things is like months and years, and they cost tens of millions of dollars a piece. You can't just like it's not just like, you know, Call of Duty, we just go reload. Like, it takes time to build these things. You can't just do whatever the fuck you want, shoot all the missiles, and then just Yosemite Sam, yeehaw! Like,
I mean, the US has taken a number of casualties, you know, throughout this conflict, due to the fact they didn't have, you know, adequate air defense systems over some of these bases. Like, a lot of people have died from the United States Armed Forces in Iraq because they've been targeting.
Alienated a lot of the Gulf states. They're like, what's the point of having these American military bases here if we just get hung out to dry? As soon as Iran starts, you know, as soon as Iran drops the machine gun, right? Like,
it's interesting. The sort of a side piece to this is Iraq. The Iraqi government has announced that they are going to be probably clamping down on Iranian-backed militias within Iraq. Now, these militias have been in place and around since ISIS was sort of pushed back and defeated, you know, 10 years ago or whatever. Less than that, 6-7 years ago. But they are a major proxy for Iran, and sort of everyone sort of let it happen while we've been fighting ISIS. But the US is pulling out of that combat mission.
It sounds like you're describing some sort of broader regional conflict, Adam.
That is what I'm getting to, that if the Iraqi government does push ahead with this, then, you know, Iraq again could be, you know, in a state of war against these sort of well-armed. We're talking about 50,000 people, roughly, that are being armed and trained by Iran within Iraq. And Iraq is ostensibly a United States ally.
It's fine.
While the US
is, this always works out great when this sort of stuff happens.
While the US is sort of pulling out of that combat mission in Iraq, you know, if there is a broader ground war between these militias and the Iraqi Defense Force, does the US get pulled back into this ground war
They're using the Q word, Adam.
What's the Q word?
Quagmire.
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 Hey, on that note, we've been Unnatural Selection.
We are, and we always will be Unnatural. We have been, we are, and we always will be Unnatural Selection. Make sure you visit us at our salubrious home on the web, unnaturalshow.com. Make sure you follow us on all the bullshit social medias that have, do, or ever will exist at our handle at Unnatural Show. That's Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, and motherflipping TikTok. Make sure you follow me on TikTok and Instagram at Jorge Tsipos.
You can follow me down to the location where George's voice used to reside, because it's now gone and vacated the facility.
It's going. It's going.
And I'm going to be reading a story that everyone's going to enjoy, which is the new Liberal, coalition proposed revision of the National Construction Code. We'll be reading that to the children at bedtime, and you can all join in for that spoken word poetry.
There once was a prince named Andrew Bragg. He was filled with hubris and thought he could overturn the nation's housing code with just 80 mere pages. Thanks for listening, guys. I love your faces. We'll see you next week. It was a podcast. Oh,
What?
I've been coughing so bad, man.
You kept talking. I was like we need to
I don't
stop
know how I
this
did
AI
it.
discussion.
I
You just
had
kept
a
going.
lozenge in there. I really could just talk about this shit forever. Okay, bye.